about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make...
What if I told you the single most consequential decision in women's basketball history had nothing to do with a game-winning shot, a block, or a draft pick? What it was a decision made in a quiet room by a committee of suits, a decision so fundamentally backwards, so dripping with personal bias and shocking professional incompetence that it caused the sport's once-in-a-generation star to walk away for good. This isn't a hypothetical. According to the biggest voice in sports media, this is exactly what just went down. Stephen A. Smith just detonated a truth bomb on the entire establishment, confirming the rumor that's been simmering for weeks. Caitlin Clark has reportedly quit Team USA entirely. She's done. After being snubbed, benched, and disrespected by the very organization that should have been rolling out the red carpet.
But the WNBA does. You got a max salary at $250,000. You had attendance, although it was trending in the right direction, certainly wasn't where you wanted it to be. And as Shannon pointed out just the other day, you got a team in the Indiana FIBA with their struggling selves, struggling to win a damn game and be relevant. No team in the WNBA was worse other than the winless Washington Mystics, okay? And they went from 4,000 in attendance to 17,000. This girl is box office. I said a rising tide lifts all boats. What you do, especially if you're Team USA and you're trying to be globalized, and there's an opportunity to globalize the WNBA brand, so people like Brittany Griner, you know, God bless her soul, and others don't have to go to Russia in the off.
The message from Clark's camp is crystal clear. If you don't want her on your terms, you don't get her at all. This is a story of jealousy, of staggering financial miscalculation, and of a toxic culture that finally met a force it couldn't intimidate. And by the end of this, you'll understand why this one decision might have set the entire WNBA back a decade. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button, because we're diving deep into the idiocy that changed everything. This moment is a case study in how sports bureaucracies can become so detached from reality, so obsessed with internal politics, that they willingly sabotage their own success. We are witnessing a historic unforced error, a self-inflicted wound that will be analyzed for years to come, all stemming from a refusal to recognize that the world has changed and a new era has definitively begun.
He's white. And because of that, when you consider some of the hard times other people gave her, they were resentful of the fact that this white girl came on the scene where there was a bunch of sisters that preceded her spanning decades that were big time, that deserved a lot of credit. I mean, people looked at the Cheryl Swoops of the world, the Maya Moores of the world, and others, and they said, yo, there was a bunch of people that came before her that did big things for the WNBA. I respect it. It is right. I appreciate it. But whiteness does have its privileges, especially when you got a game. And what a lot of people weren't willing or were a bit reluctant to appreciate was the game on this young white sister of ours. She can ball. And oh, by the way, she was a great ambassador for the game. And by the way, she came in there and looked out for everybody else. For 22 years, they couldn't get chartered flights. That sister got there and it was done in 2 weeks. That's who.
When the official Olympic roster was leaked and Caitlin Clark's name was conspicuously absent, the public outrage was immediate and volcanic. But the selection committee had their story ready. They behind vague, bureaucratic jargon. They talked about international experience. They mumbled about a 3-year commitment to the core group. They presented it as a simple matter of protocol, of paying dues on paper. To someone who doesn't understand how sports actually work, it might have sounded almost reasonable. But let's tear this facade apart immediately. Since when do transcendent talents, the ones who redefine the economic reality of a league, need to wait in line? You don't tell a young Michael Jordan to sit out the dream team because he needs more FIBA experience. You don't bench a rookie Magic Johnson or Larry Bird from the Olympics when you have a cultural lightning rod, a player who is single-handedly moving the needle for an entire sport. You get them on the plane.
What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting, as well as the hate and anger towards Caitlin Clark?
When it comes to Caitlin Clark, now I've taken hits. Because I was calling it from day one. You got people that are resentful towards her. It's really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents. Before she ever came along, there were a lot of outstanding basketball players who happened to be black females that was doing their thing on the WNBA level, and they never got this kind of shine. This girl, the Golden Goose, comes along, and she wreaks havoc. She's a star caliber player who draws this attention. And maybe it's because that fan base that she has and her being a young white lady contributes to it. So what? Benefit.
Period. The mission for Team USA women's basketball isn't even about winning gold anymore. Let's be brutally honest. The talent gap is so massive, they could send a college all-star team and still dominate. The real mission, the only mission that matters for a league starving for growth, is exposure. It's marketing. It's capturing the attention of millions of casual fans who only tune in every 4 years. And with that as the goal, leaving Clark at home wasn't just a questionable choice. It was, from a pure mission accomplishment standpoint, an act of sheer sabotage. But as we'd soon learn, this wasn't about the mission at all. It was about something much uglier and much more personal.
But are we really trying to grow the game? Because this is the most popular women's basketball player in the world. And it ain't close. They had to move the Mystic game to an NBA arena. Name the time. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I don't want to get long-winded. I want somebody, one of our women colleagues, Stephen A., to tell me when a WNBA game has had to be moved because of a woman player. Just one. Just tell me one. Because I know in her attendance, she's averaging about 17,000. All the other WNBA games in which she's not a participant average about 7. So are we really trying to go the game? Is that what we're really trying to do? Or are we just talking about we're trying to grow the game and just bullshitting?
The committee's excuses crumble under the slightest scrutiny. They cited fit and style of play, yet the team includes players of diverse roles and skills. This reveals the experience argument as a selectively applied filter, not a consistent principle. History shows that truly transformative athletes are always the exception to the rule because their value transcends routine criteria. By ignoring this universal sports truth, the committee didn't just make a bad roster decision. They advertised a profound lack of vision and a stubborn commitment to outdated thinking. Behind the scenes, the truth began to leak almost immediately. This wasn't about Clark's ability. Insiders whispered that the selection committee was paralyzed by fear. They were reportedly terrified of how the veteran players on the roster would react to Clark's presence. They were scared of the media circus that follows her everywhere. They were worried about disrupting the team's chemistry, a chemistry built, it seems, on the absence of the one player who draws more eyes than all of them combined.
Decisions, marketing. I want people watching. I want eyeballs. I want advertising dollars. Why? Because he'll get paid. Y'all will get paid. And guess who else will get paid? You see where I'm coming from? That's what it's about. Stop acting. Otherwise, we know this. You don't sit up there and pass on Caitlin Clark. It was stupid, Team USA. It was a...
Let that sink in. The governing body of USA Basketball made a conscious decision to prioritize the fragile feelings of established veterans over the explosive growth of the game itself. They chose personal comfort over unprecedented opportunity. This is where Stephen A. Smith entered the chat and obliterated the narrative. He didn't just criticize. He exposed the sheer, mind-numbing stupidity of the logic. He asked one devastating question. Are we really trying to grow the game? Because you just left the most popular women's basketball player on the planet at home. He pointed to the hard numbers. Arenas selling out, games being moved to NBA-sized stadiums, ratings skyrocketing 300% whenever she plays. And then he pointed to the unspoken tension. He gave voice to the jealousy factor that no one in the WNBA inner circle will admit to on the record. These are veterans, legends like Diana Taurasi, Cheryl Swoops, who built this league in obscurity. They played in empty gyms, flew commercial and middle seats, and fought for decades for crumbs of recognition. And then comes this 22-year-old from Iowa who, before her first pro game, has private jets, 8-figure Nike deals, and a mainstream fame they could never imagine. The resentment isn't just palpable. It's been broadcast in passive-aggressive comments, in dubious critiques of her game, in a clear sense that she hasn't earned her shine. The committee, scared of that resentment, capitulated to it. They validated the idea that paying your dues in silence is more important than bringing in the revenue that would, ironically, pay those veterans much more handsomely. This is a tragic failure of leadership. A strong committee manages personalities for the greater good. They would have brought veterans and the new star together, framing Clark's inclusion as a victory for everyone who ever fought for the league. Instead, They abdicated their responsibility, allowing a perceived generational and cultural conflict to dictate a decision that hurts every single player's long-term earning potential and legacy. But this resentment wasn't confined to press conferences and shady interviews. It spilled onto the court in the most disturbing way possible. From her very first preseason game, Caitlin Clark has been treated to a level of physical aggression that goes far beyond tough defense. We're talking about blatant non-basketball plays. The hip check from Chindi Carter wasn't a basketball move. It was a message. Clark was knocked down off the ball in what appeared to be a deliberate and cheap shot. And the league's response? A flagrant foul upgrade days later, after public pressure mounted. Where was the immediate suspension to protect the league's biggest asset? Where was the unified front from veterans condemning the dangerous play? Instead, we got justification. We got welcome to the league comments. We got suggestions that Clark needed to toughen up. Stephen A. Smith nailed the double standard. If this were LeBron James taking a cheap shot from a role player, that player would be fined and suspended into next season. The league protects its marketable stars. But with Clark, it felt like open season was declared. This on-court hostility is directly connected to the Olympic snub. Think about it. Why would Clark want to spend a month in the intense, close-quarters environment of the Olympic Games with teammates who have either participated in this targeted treatment or stood silently by while it happened? The trust is non-existent. The roster is filled with the very players who are part of this toxic initiation. The committee wasn't just asking her to join a team. They were asking her to walk into a lion's den of resentment for the privilege of wearing the jersey. Given the choice between that and protecting her peace and her physical safety, the choice becomes startlingly clear. The message from the league has been inconsistent at best, creating an environment where enforcing the rules seems contingent on who the target is. This normalization of excessive physicality against one specific player not only risks injury, but also undermines the quality and integrity of the game itself. It tells viewers that settling scores is tolerated, which is a dangerous precedent for any sport trying to be taken seriously as a major league. Let's talk cold, hard numbers, because data doesn't have feelings and it doesn't lie. The Caitlin Clark effect is the most quantifiable phenomenon in modern sports. WNBA games featuring Clark are averaging around 17,000 fans. Games without her? About 7,000. That's not a bump, that's an earthquake. Television ratings for her games are up over 400% in some cases, reaching numbers the league hasn't seen since its founding era. When the Indiana Fever visit, teams are forced to move games from their 10,000-seat WNBA arenas to 20,000-seat NBA arenas, and they're still selling out. She is, as Stephen A. called her, a walking stimulus package. Now, apply this to the Olympics. The games are a television product. NBC pays billions for the rights and needs max viewership to sell advertising. Team USA women's basketball had a chance to be a centerpiece, to draw in those millions of casual Clark fans who are now engaged. Instead, the committee chose to present a product that looks, to those new fans, exactly like the product they weren't watching a year ago. They voluntarily surrendered a massive portion of their audience. They lit millions of advertising dollars on fire. This is what makes a decision so baffling from a business standpoint. In any other professional league, an executive who made a choice that willfully depressed ratings and revenue during the organization's biggest global showcase would be fired on the spot. It's not just bad sports management. It's catastrophic financial negligence. They had a golden goose, and instead of cherishing it, they decided to prove a point about the pecking order in the coop. The financial fallout will be the quiet, undeniable revenge. Beyond just TV ratings, this impacts sponsorship interest, merchandise sales, and perceived value of the entire WNBA property. Investors and partners look for growth trajectories and cultural relevance. Actively sidelining your most potent growth engine sends a confusing, negative signal to the market, suggesting internal discord is more important than external opportunity, which can have a chilling effect on the very investments the league has sought for decades. As the backlash reached a fever pitch, rumors swirled that USA Basketball might try to save face. The idea was to offer Clark an alternate spot, a glorified backup plan, sitting on standby in case of injury. It was a pathetic consolation prize, an attempt to have their cake and eat it too, silence the critics by saying she's involved without actually giving her the roster spot she earned. This is where Caitlin Clark, according to sources close to the situation, played her masterstroke. The rumor, heavily supported by Stephen A. Smith's reporting, is that Clark's camp communicated a simple, powerful message: no, thank you. If she wasn't good enough for the official roster, she had no interest in being a backup, waiting for someone else's misfortune. She didn't throw a public fit. She didn't beg. She executed a soft quit. She quietly withdrew her availability. Think about the sheer power in that move. It reframes the entire narrative. It's no longer about her being not good enough. It's about her refusing to accept disrespect. She is effectively saying, "You made your choice. You live with the consequences. I'll be over here, resting my body, building my brand, and letting you play in front of the smaller audience your choice created." This demonstrates a level of business savvy and self-worth that the committee clearly did not anticipate. They expected gratitude for scraps. Instead, they got a stark lesson in leverage. She now holds all the power, and her decision to walk away proves she knows it. This move also protects her long-term future. By avoiding the potential drama of an alternate role and using the time for rest and personal training, she invests in her WNBA career and health. It's a mature, forward-thinking decision that prioritizes her own trajectory over the temporary prestige of an Olympic experience that was already tainted by the circumstances of her inclusion. It turns their rejection into her strategic advantage. To understand how this could possibly happen, we need to diagnose the sick culture that allowed it. For years, the WNBA has been a tight-knit, almost insular community. It's been a sisterhood of struggle, bonded by shared experiences of flying commercial and fighting for visibility. That bond is real and earned, but it has a dark side. It can become a clique, a sorority with a brutal hazing process for newcomers who haven't shared that specific struggle. Caitlin Clark didn't just enter as a rookie. She entered as an outsider who represented a different demographic, the casual, often white, mainstream fan that the league never could reach. And instead of embracing those new fans and the revenue they bring, a vocal segment of the league and its diehard supporters have responded with pure gatekeeping hostility. You see it all over social media. You only care about Caitlin. Where were you fans last year? Support all the players, not just her. It's a mentality of purity testing new fans instead of welcoming them. This mean girl energy, this resentment of the very audience that is injecting the league with life, filtered straight up to the selection committee. They protected the feelings of the in-group at the direct expense of the outsider who was expanding the group. It's a catastrophic failure of vision. A healthy sports league rolls out the red carpet for its stars and the fans they bring. A dysfunctional one polishes its badges of suffering and questions whether newcomers have suffered enough to be worthy. The Clark snub is the ultimate expression of this dysfunctional mindset. This culture mistake conflates universal support for one player with rejection of others, when in reality, a rising star creates a larger pie for everyone. The inability to strategically channel this newfound attention toward the broader league showcases a deep insecurity and a tragic lack of understanding about how cultural phenomena work and how they can be leveraged for collective, lasting benefit. So where does this leave us? This isn't a one-time snub that will be forgotten after Paris. Stephen A. Smith hinted strongly that the bridge isn't just burned, it's been vaporized. Caitlin Clark's inner circle is reportedly taking names, noting every person who enabled this fiasco. The landscape of women's basketball has been fundamentally and permanently altered. The old guard made their stand, choosing legacy and comfort over a revolutionary future. And in doing so, they may have permanently alienated the very force that could have lifted them to unprecedented heights. Caitlin Clark doesn't need Team USA. Her brand, her influence, and her economic power exist far beyond that jersey. But Team USA and the WNBA at large desperately needed her to validate their relevance on the world's biggest stage. They had a chance to create a legacy-defining moment, a synergy between past pioneers and the new icon. They chose, instead, to make a point. And the point they made is one of shocking self-sabotage. When the ratings of the Olympic women's basketball games come in, and they're dwarfed by a regular season Indiana Fever game in June, the truth will be written in the one language everyone understands: numbers. The question is no longer whether Caitlin Clark deserved to be on the team. The question history will ask is how the people in charge were ever foolish enough to leave her off. What do you think? Did Caitlin Clark make the right call by walking away, or should she have swallowed her pride for the chance to compete? Let me know your take in the comments below. And if this breakdown revealed just how deep the scandal goes, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. The fallout from this will ripple through contract negotiations, media rights deals, and the very identity of the sport for years, proving that sometimes the most impactful battles aren't fought on the court, but in the conference rooms where the soul of the game is so carelessly gambled away.